I want to begin by asking you, in this very troubled world that we live in today, India is going to be one of the few countries in the world which is going to have the largest number of young adults and I know there is deep confusion, and yet there is deep hope. So what, Daaджи, constitutes real wealth in the world that we live in? Can spirituality be defined as real wealth?
Spiritual wealth we always had and we always have at an individual level, for sure. Long time back, Swami Vivekananda, he was telling at that time with, those lion words, my country doesn't need spirituality today. My country needs bread and butter. You cannot go off balance and try to say, I'm centered within my life. No. Centering, when it is lacking, you lose your focus, you lose your balance.
So there is an outer world and an inner world.
Yes.
How can we inspire them to think of bridging these two worlds, to develop in both simultaneously?
You have to let them know the existence of such a product. Inner world, if you say it's a product, how are we going to display the beauty of inner world? But each one has their own unique inner world in which we need to believe. Person who does not believe in such a thing, how are we going to inspire and say, okay, let me try this out?
What is meditation, Daaджи?
Well, meditation is a very simple thing.
Does spiritual practice help us achieve this state of transcendence?
Definitely.
Is the objective of meditation transcendence?
Transcend everything that comes on our way. When Swami Vivekananda declared so boldly, it's good to be born in a profound religion. It will be a curse to die in the same religion. Meaning, you are so trapped by that. It does not allow you to go beyond the beliefs. Dogmas.
How does a seeker negotiate the universe around him?
Well, when it comes to spirituality, there is no negotiation. Spirituality will teach us to accept things.
What is your message to the business leaders of today?
I would say, like a bird, fly with two wings, material and spiritual, and be guided by the tail we call heart.
And what is your message to young adults in search for meaning, purpose?
Believe in yourself and explore the inner world. You will not regret.
Very beautifully expressed, Daaджи.
So it's very simple, I think. It's very simple.
Daaджi, I want to begin by first expressing my profound gratitude to you for having given me this opportunity to have a few words with you, to have the courage to pose a few questions so that you are able to illuminate all of us who are in search in greater or lesser measure for our real selves.
Well, Professor, I'm quite honored that I'm talking to you. You belong to a big league school of India, IIMB, and it's quite an honor for me to chat with you and see if we can bring some light on this esoteric aspect of yoga, which is mostly misunderstood.
I want to begin by asking you, in this very troubled world that we live in today, with all kinds of difficulties, challenges and problems, I especially have young adults in mind. India is going to be one of the few countries in the world which is going to have the largest number of young adults for the next 20 years. I have spent the better part of my life with them, so I know them intimately. And I know there is deep confusion, and yet there is deep hope. So what, Daaджи, constitutes real wealth in the world that we live in? Can spirituality be defined as real wealth? Wealth that is long-lasting, everlasting, an intrinsic part of us.
Well, spiritual wealth we always had and we always have. At an individual level, for sure. Long time back, Swami Vivekananda, he was telling at that time with, those lion words, my country doesn't need spirituality today. My country needs bread and butter. Today's youth, I think, though we are not sort of bread and butter, somehow they want something more than bread and butter. The outside world is pushing them to accomplish and accumulate so much of wealth, so that family can live happily. Everyone would like to have fulfillment of a dream of a good house, in a good neighborhood, good car, wife, children, husband, obedient children, etc. This is a dream part of it. How to make it happen? Even if you make that dream come true, still the spiritual aspect remains lagging behind. And if you are too much into spirituality, then how will you fulfill the material need? We need to strike this balance in India. Rather everywhere. You cannot go off balance and try to say, I'm centered within my life. No. Centering, when it is lacking, you lose your focus, you lose your balance. Losing balance at a consciousness level means you are not so in tune with yourself. There is always something lacking.
So there is an outer world and an inner world.
Yes.
An outer world where we need to secure a living, make a living, fulfill our household responsibilities.
Exactly.
There is also an inner world which taps on to our higher energies and helps us ask deeper questions that can lead to light within. How do we bridge this inner and outer? How do we sensitize people who come in touch with us, be they corporate leaders, be they young adults, be they our colleagues, our friends, our loved ones? How can we inspire them to think of bridging these two worlds, to develop in both simultaneously?
Well, before you can show that there is a great product, you have to let them know the existence of such a product. Inner world, if you say it's a product, how are we going to display the beauty of inner world? What you see in your inner world, what you perceive in your inner world is different from myself, similarly for others. But each one has their own unique inner world in which we need to believe. First, to find out that how wide and how infinite is the possibility in exploring this inner world. Person who does not believe in such a thing, how are we going to inspire and say, okay, let me try this out? So then students might trust you and say, Professor, we'd like to explore this. So maybe if we can give them the experience of the inner world, then they'll say, oh wow, this is great. Somehow there is an inherent pull in each one's heart to find peace, to find some solace. And if you don't find it while going within yourself, people try to fulfill it outside. Maybe cigarette, maybe alcohol, maybe some drugs. But deep down within, they have this craving to feel good. Instead of depending on outside objects to feel good, if we can somehow inspire them and give a taste of this inner world, then the outer mirages will drop just like that. And inner world will attract them so heavily. They'll say, wow, this is worth exploring. So we need to give the taste of this inner world to them.
What is meditation, Daji?
Well, meditation is a very simple thing. A person who is wanting to get married, he finds a girlfriend, keeps thinking of her all the time. Or a student thinking and contemplating on a very deep subject. or a businessman constantly brooding over how to make money, or a thief contemplating how to take the advantage of certain situation and make more money, or a murderer executing his own plan mentally many times before he commits the actual act. They are all meditations. But in spirituality, meditation means to focus our attention on spirituality, on spiritual light, divine light present in our heart, which is common to all of us. So, meditation, though, it sounds very, spooky thing in many people's mind. It's a very simple thing. It's simple in the sense that we are all exploring the divine presence inside. And how can we explore the divine presence inside? Just by thinking, it's not going to happen. Just as we think, oh, there is such and such a Lord in such and such a place. Fine, it's a good idea. But one must experience the presence. Even the simple act of seeing a statue or an idol of God or goddess. You're looking with your eyes first. There is a form, there is a color. It evokes certain thing in a devotee's heart. This evocation makes you close your eyes. Now, when you close your eyes and focus away from the form, now you're tuning into that formlessness of the God or goddess that it represents. You're trying to perceive the quality. So, we move away from form, which we see with the eye, and try to perceive it with our inner eye. And thus, we start exploring from thinking to feeling the presence of the divine essence within ourselves.
That's very beautifully expressed. The same Swami Vivekananda once said, and it impacted me greatly when I read it, so greatly that it's permanently etched in my heart. He once said that it's a great blessing to be born into a religion, but a great curse to die in one. What a beautiful line. What an extraordinarily beautiful line. So I've often wondered about the truth of our scriptures, be they the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Satdarshanas. If they can be summarized in one word, it would probably be transcend. That we have been brought into this world to transcend everything that has been given to us. Be it body, be it mind, be it intellect, be it life itself, or be it death. Does spiritual practice help us achieve this state of transcendence?
Definitely.
Is the objective of meditation transcendence?
Transcend everything that comes on our way. When we talk of, when Swami Vivekananda declared so boldly, it's good to be born in a profound religion. It will be a curse to die in the same religion. Meaning, you are so trapped by that orthodoxy, dogmas, and belief system of a religion. It does not allow you to go beyond the beliefs, dogmas.
Absolutely.
He meant to say that, okay, you believe in some gods and goddesses. That doesn't undermine Vedas and Upanishads. That doesn't undermine Quran or Bible. But whatever is written in all these holy scriptures, they must be actualized.
And experienced.
And once this actualization happens, then there is further transcendence. Like what happens in religion, you depend on God outside you. Spirituality makes you look inside and say, look within, God is within you. Though He's everywhere, but His perception, you can perceive Him only in yourself. And a stage will come when you'll be able to perceive Him outside as well. So there is the beginning of spirituality when the experiences are overwhelming at each stage as consciousness unfolds as we meditate. It will move us from one transcendental experience to another transcendental experience to another one. And it's keep going on and on and on.
So that you reach a stage where you break all barriers, all boundaries.
No, you get tired of experiences. You see, because there's a limit to all these things. And how much to experience? You get fed up of all this. Then the most profound experience of all, we come to understand on our own, through our own efforts and practice, that I'm not here to play with these experiences. Anyone can play with toys. Children, they play with toys. Businessman also is playing with his business. Nothing wrong with it. There's time for everything. Rishis and yogis also, they're playing with consciousness. We have to go beyond it to the field of reality. You go on experiencing something, which is okay. But what is it that supports this experience? Right? Swami Vivekananda, again quoting him, the great mind, he said the purpose of all spiritual practices is to arrive at such a consciousness which covers everything. We call it universal consciousness. We all have thin film of consciousness, above which and below which there are two giant oceans of consciousnesses. One is super consciousness, giant ocean, and below it subconscious ocean. And there's a very fine film of available consciousness with which we interact. Through meditation and heartfulness cleaning process we are able to expand our limited film of consciousness and allow it to soar higher in the sky of super consciousness. And it helps us also to plunge into deeper level of consciousness, subconscious state. These are all experienceable things. These are not just theories. And through heartfulness, we invite people that come and experience it. It's possible, right? Transcending spirituality, meaning transcending experiences. When you get fed up of it and say, now, what is the ultimate experience? Ultimate experience would be, you compare that as I accept more and more things in my life, as I develop saranagati or prapanna state or such state of surrender out of love, not out of some helplessness. And this state begins and you become lesser and lesser and lesser with your ego and allow the divine consciousness to guide you. He takes over, kind of. Ultimately, we realize that he and me are the same.
Our own experience.
Yes. So when we transcend the self itself, that is reality. And that is also a most profound experience and which gives you a lot of bliss. But this bliss is also a trap. And when we enter the total state of nothingness, I think it's the most beautiful state.
Is that what we call void?
Exactly, sir. Mm-hmm.
Is this state of superconsciousness the same as Lord Krishna evoked in the Gita when he said the Supreme Self or the Universal Self? Are both the same? Are they one and the same reality?
No, he is meaning differently. What we are trying to achieve here is to move from the, one point to another point of yoga's. And of course, the end part of it will be the same, what Lord Krishna has described in Gita. And transcend even that final most frontier and enter the nothingness. Because even in the existence of Supreme Being, there is still someone. some entity, be it energy or vibratory state or consciousness state. We need to transcend even that.
How does the seeker negotiate the universe around him or her?
Well, when it comes to spirituality, there is no negotiation. There is spirituality will teach us to accept things. I cannot fight with the world and change the world. I need to mutate my consciousness. If bacteria and viruses can mutate for self-survival, I'm sure we can also do that.
Can spirituality help us define the rules of engagement? What to do, what not to do, what is desirable, what is not desirable?
Oh, very simple. A spiritual man can decide just like that with the plum of. I mean, to him, decision making is the easiest thing. Very easy. To filter what is not to be done is very simple.
Because he has a heightened sense of discrimination.
And greater sensitivity.
So does spirituality also help us expand our hearts?
No, without any doubt.
To make us more inclusive, compassionate, solidarity, understanding.
True spirituality will definitely unite one and all. It will promote respect and trust for all. Because the basis is love. When I say I experience God within myself, a stage comes when you see God everywhere in everyone. Insulting the other means insulting yourself. It cannot tolerate. Your consciousness will not stand by it. It will rebel. It will rebel.
Because in reality, there is no other but you.
Yes.
That's a very profound lesson. How do we, Daaji, have been battling with this for a long time. How do we bring the world of spirituality into the world of management, into the world of business, into the corporate world?
First step is to recognize that there is something like that. And spirituality will not interfere with our material explorations. In fact, whatsoever you do with the spiritual bent of mind will become excellent. In Gita also Lord Krishna talks so highly of yoga, final state of yoga, declaring yoga ha karma su kausalam. Through yoga, all your activities can become excellent. So if the goal is to excel in things we do, even in the material world, whether you believe in God or not, that's a different story. Even if you don't believe. If you center yourself, focus your mind on something with a lot of interest and zeal, as if your life depends on it, you'll achieve it.
So what you're saying is that there is no contradiction between worldly engagement and spiritual advancement.
It only, I would say, embellishes. It beautifies both lives. Imagine a beggar, or he says, I have renounced the world, but he goes on begging from house to house. You feel sad, and we give something out of pity. It's a sad life. You're not searching for God. Now you're searching for food and shelter. Those were glorious days in India when sannyasa life, sadhu life was honored. You were not considered wretched and helpless individuals. Even kings would bow to such individuals. Those were different days. Present day is not the same. So I think sannyasa life or discarding material life altogether, it will be a big mistake. And a person with a good heart, sattvic heart, if such good-hearted people say, oh, I'm not going to make money because I want to spend time more towards spirituality, then good-hearted people, when they go away, who will make money? Bad-hearted, terrorist people.
Do business leaders need to make space for spiritual knowledge, spiritual practice?
It doesn't require much time. It doesn't take away our time. For example, when I'm reading a book, right? It's a mental act of reading something. But if I think that I am doing this for my evolution, for my consciousness, improving my consciousness, or even better, if I read with an idea that God within is also witnessing my reading, you are doing 2-3 things at the same time. Like if you're even acts like going to bed, it's a simple act, going to sleep. Most people go to sleep when they're too tired. But try to sleep when you're so fresh, at night, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And with this consciousness, let this fresh consciousness percolate into your sleep with an idea that I am connected to God. That's all. Spiritual man thinks that he is connected to God, and that's all. Anything and everything he does, thinks, intends, it is by connecting himself with God. So
This is its
that very act becomes spiritual. Though you may be doing banking, you may be doing business, you may be doing, maybe a professional as a doctor or a nurse, but every act is connected with God. They become spiritual.
it purifies and cleanses.
Cleanses. So there is no point bowing your head before God every morning and evening. It's good if you do all that thing, but better would be if every moment that we lead, moment after moment, every moment is drenched in love towards the Maker as well as His creation. It will be wonderful. And this is achievable. This is very much achievable. A few minutes of meditation in the morning connects you, which you cannot shake off just like that. It holds on to you. It remains glued to your state.
Gives you energy.
And with that, we continue our work.
I wanted your thoughts on this. Harvard has recently introduced a course on wellness and happiness. I was contemplating the idea and wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Can we in India, with this heritage that we have, such an extraordinary heritage of gurus, masters, down the ages, have relentlessly pursued the spiritual path, disseminating spiritual truths, is it a good idea to introduce a course on meditation, an elective course to begin with, on meditation, connecting meditation, happiness, well-being?
It will be evolutionary step going forward, I think. If all can embrace this, then we can reverse this whole decaying process of our civilization. Meditation or spirituality only will save the nations.
It is the real wealth.
The real wealth. Material wealth, it is helpful for our present existence. Okay, but having it, though not bad, it still remains incomplete. It doesn't give us total contentment, which will come only when we meditate and explore the inner wealth. So in the outer world, we invest capital and we get interest. In the inner world, take interest and regain your capital.
Beautiful.
You get everything. Once you explore the inner world, you lack nothing. You have everything. But as I said, please don't trust my words. I can go on talking this. It may just sound so, talking in air. But experience will teach you everything. Just give us a chance. Half hour. I need only half hour. If I cannot convince you in half hour, I'm not going to speak to you. Meditate with me and see what happens. If you like it, make it your lifestyle. If you don't like it, explore some better path.
One more question, Daaji.
Yes, sir.
What is the heart?
Well, these days it's easier to explain. You know, you have a hardware system, computer, hardware, and there's a software. We have a brain, we have mind behind it. We have a physical heart, and there is emotional heart. Behind it, there is a spiritual heart. So, the basis of all these things is the subtlest. Without the mind, brain is useless. Without the emotional and spiritual heart, the pumping heart is just like any other pump. So we need to refine the emotional aspect, spiritual aspect of the heart.
So the heart is the innermost part of our being?
Not yet. Innermost is the soul, the core of our being. And that is covered with consciousness. And consciousness is driven by how our ego, intellect, and mind plays out. If you're too egoistic, what happens to your consciousness? Egoistic man always says no first. My way only, not your way. What happens to his consciousness? Imagine you are in such a joyful state and somebody shouts at you and becomes so angry. What happens to your consciousness? Yours as well as his. So, things do affect our consciousness, especially these lower aspects of thinking, lower aspects of intelligentsia, lower aspects of egoism. But they also have a higher aspect. If we embrace the higher aspect of the mind, of the intelligence, and also of the ego, then we are taking these three as a combined thing and help evolve the consciousness. And with that, the soul will remain in a lesser frequency of vibration where it remains quiet, at peace.
What is your message to the business leaders of today? How can they advance this agenda of inner development?
I would say, like a bird, fly with two wings, material and spiritual, and be guided by the tail we call heart.
Very nice. Very beautifully expressed, Daaji. And what is your message to young adults in search for meaning, purpose?
Believe in yourself and explore the inner world. You will not regret. One experience can change the course of your life.
Be open to it.
Be open to it, yes. We need to have a simple, open approach. You see, we don't need to believe in God. Not that I'm an atheist, no. One editor of one famous magazine has said, Mr. Kamlesh Patel is a non-believer of God, but she misquoted me. So I have to be careful when I say that we need not believe in God does not mean I don't believe in God. I say we need not believe in God unless and until you have experienced.
That's what the Buddha meant when he avoided questions on the existence of God.
There is no point. What is the point of me telling someone God exists? For you, it doesn't exist. And sometimes people say, oh, I see God in you, but do you really mean it? It's another lie when you don't see it. Actually, non-believers are trustworthy people. They're quite honest. They would say, oh, I don't believe in God. And we understand why. He has not experienced. So no point fighting. So my approach is very simple. God, whether you are there or not, If you are there, please help me experience. And if you're not there, there is no question about it anyway.
How much time should a person devote to meditation in a day?
24 hours.
So you must be in a meditative state all the
All the
time.
time.
By that you mean that you must be connected to your inner self all
It
the
happens. It happens. We have to, just as we need to kickstart something, awaken that consciousness within. Few minutes of meditation in the morning will take care of it. Every day when we are meditating every morning, that state will extend itself. We don't have to keep on trying. Of course, in the beginning, when we learn how to ride a scooter or how to ride a bicycle or a car, there is an effort. Eventually, it becomes
a way of life.
yeah, right.
So the purpose of meditation is actually to give up meditation.
Exactly. That's it. You become meditation. You don't only experience, you become the experience itself. You don't love anymore, you become love yourself.
You must be in a constant state of flow. And it is a great source of positive energy because it helps you to live by positive affirmation. Should we all become powerhouses of positive energy?
Need not be. Be natural. Be yourself. If your inner state is vibrating at certain frequency, let's say, you're so peaceful, you will automatically radiate that. Imagine an angry man entering the classroom. See, it disturbs the whole
derails the whole
environment. In a family, it's the same thing. Someone explodes, father or wife on someone, They love each other. And unfortunately, people who love each other are the ones who are ready to crucify each other. Mercilessly, they get,
Yes.
And when we carry this even in the outside world, we go on spreading this negative energy. But do we consciously emit this energy? No. It happens on its own, like a flower, jasmine or rose. Does it consciously emit the fragrance? I doubt it. It just happens. Wind carries it.
So what you're saying is become the fragrance. Thank you very much, Daaji,
Thank you, sir.
once again for this opportunity,
Thank you.
for sharing these precious moments with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So it's very simple, I think. It's very simple.